I started playing TF2 in early 2012, which is kind of scary because that's literally now 9 years ago. So I've been playing TF2 for nearly a decade of my life. Truly terrifying stuff. But that is not the point of this video. A lot of people will say that TF2's glory days have passed and that it was a much better game however many years ago it was. And I think given the state the game is in right now, that would not actually be an unfair statement. So today we're going to be taking a look at kind of where TF2 was around 7 years ago. I saw another YouTuber called Tomo F1 do this with Formula 1 and where that was 7 years ago. So I kind of took that idea and put it into TF2. I hope you don't mind. I mean, he's just not watching though, is he? Anyway, if you go on to enjoy the video, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave us a like and a sub, especially if you're new around here. It helps out a lot. A bunch of you who watch all the time aren't actually subscribed, and it helps me out massively if you do. So I want to see if I can hit 200,000 at some point, and I will need everybody's help to do that. Anyway, TF2, 7 years ago. What is that looking like? So, 7 years ago from today would be the 2nd of July, 2014. Which means that we're 2 weeks or so into the Love and War update, with the Screen Fortress update coming out in October. The Love and War update was a ridiculously good update. Probably one of my favorites pretty much ever. This update was massive. First of all, it changed how taunts worked, so you can now equip up to 8 on any single class, because that didn't used to be a thing. You used to only be able to equip 1 taunt on each class, and there were only like 3 or 4 taunts in the whole game anyway. There was already the High Five taunt, the Shred Alert, the Laugh taunt, and I think the Meet the Medic. I think they were the only 4 taunts that were already in the game. So after that update, every class except for the Heavy had their own exclusive taunts that they could use. The update also added unusual taunt effects, which I remember was absolutely crazy. Having Holy Grail or Screaming Tiger back then meant you had money. Or you were really lucky, but everybody just thought you had money. Not only that, but the Love and War update brought out 2 huge collections of cosmetics, with the Ninja Scout being part of one of the crates, and the Fat NG loadout as well was also part of one of those crates. This update even brought in the Bruiser's Bandana and the Merc's Mohawk. 2 of the most iconic TF2 items today were brought in just over 7 years and 2 weeks ago, which is kind of mental. That's not all the Love and War update did either, so there was 4 new weapon reskins coming into the game in the form of the Mutated Milk, which replaced the Mad Milk, the Bread Bite, which is the Gloves Are Running Urgently, the Self-Wear Beauty Mark, which is the Girati, and finally the Snack Attack, which was the Sapper. All of these items are fairly expensive nowadays, so if you've got one and you don't really use it, search out the price on backpack.tf, see what you find. You might actually be able to get in for some money there. But it wasn't just reskins we got in this update either. There was actually 5 new weapons added into the game in this update. 5 completely unique, brand new weapons in an update that also added 15 taunts, a bunch of new cosmetics, and more unusual effects. Just let that sink in for a little bit. So for those of you who weren't around when this update came out, those weapons that were added were the Backscatter, the Airstrike, the Tide Turner, the Classic, and the Base Jumper. Now I remember just before this update came out that Star was making a bunch of videos about how to turn really well with just regular shields, and he was doing that by like turning his graphics down really low and doing a whole bunch of stuff so he got the most frames he possibly could so he could turn as far as possible. Nobody else had ever done that, and Star was doing it really consistently, and it looked amazing. So Valve decided, instead of making people do that, let's just add the Tide Turner in. Valve basically saw those videos Star was making, and whoever else was making videos like that at the time, and added a whole item around that whole concept. That is crazy. It was a really different time back in 2014. Oh my god. The Base Jumper and Airstrike combo is also a pretty big deal. It is still, to this day, a really fun way to play Soldier all of these years later. And I loved playing with it back then because the Base Jumper was a little bit better, a little bit more like overpowered and technically sort of broken, not working the way it was meant to. So they fixed it, nerfed it a little bit, but still fun. But kind of the attitude around TF2 at the time was way better than it has been in the past like 3 years. There were just so many people that were happy with what Valve had done. People really loved the load of the new taunts. The Conga took over servers for weeks after that update came out. The new weapons were really fun as well. The Backscatter never has really been too great, but it was something interesting, and it's a different concept to what was out at the time anyway, so people liked it. And it just felt like people had hope for this game, and they kind of just believed that this game was just going to keep growing and growing and growing With more updates like Love and War, I think TF2 could have been one of the biggest games out there. Like, hands down, it definitely could have taken over completely if there was more updates like Love and War. Genuinely, I think the only thing that this update didn't have was weapon changes, but I can't remember at the time, I could be wrong, I can't remember too many things really desperately needing something fixed on them. Maybe the flog still, maybe the gunslinger still had that weird thing with the crits, I have no idea, but at the time, I personally didn't find anything that needed really rebalancing. I also completely forgot to mention as well that Expiration Date, the huge SFM movie kind of thing, came out for this update. That is just how much Valve put into updates, getting people to make that kind of thing just for a regular update they were making. I mean, this obviously didn't happen for every single update. Love and War was just a ridiculously good update. Probably one of the best TF2 has ever had. But comparing that to now, most updates we get now are kind of just there to try and stop the bots again, which only really slowed them down for a day or two because nobody's messing with VAC, and you can't fix the bots without fixing VAC, else they're just going to find a way around what you've changed. It's just a completely different time. And then maybe we get a crate as well, which is okay, I like that, I don't mind it, but some updates like Love and War, you know, I would definitely not complain about them. I wrote down here that the updates nowadays are nothing like they used to be, and that sentence made me feel 1,000 years old. To be fair though, a few months after Love and War came out, we got the end of the line update, which was apparently quite disappointing. I quite liked it, but it wasn't a huge update like everybody thought it was going to be, considering we were sort of promised a map that didn't come out for a fair bit afterwards because apparently it was too confusing for new players. I just want to point out CP Steel is in the game. So this one didn't get added because it was too complicated. Okay. But basically, TF2 7 years ago was a really, really good time. It was a weird time as well for sure. Like the Conga felt like a bit of a fever dream for a little bit. But some of the updates that would follow Love and War the year after, like Gunmetal and Tough Break, were also absolutely insane updates that I really love. And I remember pretty well, I think. And I miss those times a little bit. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate it if you could leave it a like and also subscribe to the channel if you're new. I also have some merch that's finally out now, so if you want to get yourself a hoodie, a long sleeve top, or a t-shirt, then the link to that is going to be in the description. There's also stickers there as well. So if you want to get anything, the link is there. And also, if you do end up getting anything, I'd really like it if you tweeted it at me so I could actually see it, because this is pretty much all I've wanted since releasing merch. I just want to see people wearing it. But with that, that is all I have for you guys today. I hope to see you all tomorrow with another video. Goodbye.